Good morning, everyone. We appreciate your joining us this morning. I am Commissioner Rick Vest, Chair of the Lancaster County Board, and we greatly miss seeing all of you in person over at the NACO headquarters this morning, but we're glad to have this opportunity to join with you this morning. Given the dynamics of it, we're going to just split up by county, as you saw on the agenda. Each county will talk about the priority bills that they've identified for this year's session. Normally we do this in early January, but this year we thought it would be simpler for everyone if we waited till the bills were introduced so that we could specifically address those bills that we have identified as key to the successful continuing growth of our counties. I'm going to say that we have a wide array of panelists here, and I don't know that I can do justice to introducing everyone on the call. So I think we'll go forward, unless Brennan, you want to take a run at that. I'm looking at my screen and seeing names all over the place.
You know, Commissioner, I think you could introduce the Lancaster, and then if individuals from Sarpy or Douglas, if someone from each county wants to just take a lead and introduce their commissioners, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Lancaster County obviously has 5 county commissioners, and present this morning will be Senator Sean Flowerday representing District 1, or Commissioner Sean Flowerday, Commissioner Krista Yoakum from District 2, the Northwest, Commissioner Deb Shore from, good morning, Deb, from District 3, the Southwest, Commissioner Roma Amundsen on Southeast, and I'm in District 5, the Northeast section. That would be the 5 of us. With that, Dave Durbin is going to present on our priorities. Dave, I'll turn it over to you.
Do we want to allow the other counties an opportunity to introduce themselves?
I thought we might do that when we got to their individual counties.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope everyone's staying safe out there in the snow and everything else that's going on. We'd like to start off with our priorities for Lancaster County for this year. The highest priority for Lancaster County that we've identified is preserving the inheritance tax. Currently, we budget about $5 million annually for our inheritance tax, and we drop that directly into our general fund and provide property tax relief to our taxpayers with those proceeds. Just to give you an idea of the scale of what $5 million means to us, that is equal to about 1.7 cents on our levy, which is about 6% of our entire levy for the current fiscal year. There have been 3 bills which were introduced which would repeal or amend the inheritance tax. We'll focus on LB 310 because of its drastic potential effects on revenue.
So it'll bug you. Thank you.
The first, what it does is reduce the tax rates and increases the exemptions for all beneficiaries across the board. For those of you who might not be intimately familiar with inheritance tax, there are 3 classes of beneficiaries who are subject to inheritance tax. And I'll just focus for a quick example due to time constraints on what this bill would do to class 1 beneficiaries, which are immediate family members. Over time, the class 1 tax rate would change from 1% currently to 0.75% in 2023 to 0.5% in 2024. And at the same time that the tax rate is decreasing, the exemption level would increase from $40,000 currently to $150,000 in 2022 to $155,000 in 2023 to $160,000 in 2024, plus a $5,000 increase each year thereafter. So basically, LB 310 slashes the tax rate by half for Class 1 beneficiaries and quadruples the exemption amount with annual increases each year thereafter. Practically speaking, this results in a phase out of inheritance tax over time, which puts our county in the unenviable position of reducing critical governmental resources or services, or increasing property taxes after the legislature worked so hard to provide meaningful property tax relief in the last session. And while we're talking about property tax, although we haven't taken an official position on LR 22CA and LB 408, which is the constitutional amendment to limit property tax revenue and the Property Tax Request Act, we just like to highlight that legislation and that constitutional amendment with the phase out of inheritance tax almost certainly puts our county in an extremely difficult fiscal position. In some years, a 3% increase may not even be enough to cover increased wage and benefit costs. And it might also exacerbate some of our infrastructure issues, which we'll talk about a little bit below with LB 242. So we haven't taken an official position on it yet. We just wanted to highlight that there are some concerns with that, especially when we're looking at LB 310. We also have three affirmative proposals that we'd like to highlight this morning. The first is LB 271, which was introduced by Senator Moorfeld to adopt the 24/7 Sobriety Program Act and to broaden traffic offenses eligible for pretrial diversion programs to include first offense driving under the influence. Our Community Corrections Department identified that loss of driving privileges often causes a cascading stream of negative consequences for people who are going through DUI programs, and so including things like loss of employment. So what the novelty of this program is that it allows clients to obtain a driving permit from the DMV while also subjecting the clients to at least twice daily drug and alcohol testing. The permit, of course, is subject to compliance with the program, and it's designed to be fully funded by user fees. And to address some issues that had come up in previous attempts at this legislation, this is not intended to replace other programs or devices that currently are in use. This is intended to be an additional alternative to incarceration. So this is not intended to displace the use of interlock devices, and it's certainly not intended to hinder the diversion program run by our friends in Sarpy County with great results over there. So we're really trying to just find some additional avenues to find the best outcomes for clients. And we're so committed to this program. We've had discussions with the DMV that the county is willing to pay for the startup cost with the DMV, even though those would be statewide. That would be for implementation statewide. So Lancaster County stands 100% behind this program. We're real excited to get this. We've been trying to get this passed for a couple years, and we think that we got a really good proposal that's been put out there. Our second affirmative proposal represents a lot of hard work by Senator Geist's office to discover an avenue for the sharing of certain information under the Nebraska Mental Health Commitment Act with first responders. Specifically, what this bill does is create a mental health indicator in the NCGIS program for individuals who have been both committed to inpatient treatment by a mental health board and placed in the custody of DHHS. So under this legislation, the mental health indicator would be provided to 911 operators who could convey that to first responders. Our intent with sharing this mental health information is to enhance the safety of the subject individuals who would be the subject of the calls, law enforcement agencies, and other first responders, and generally the public, when our first responders, who would be EMS or law enforcement, are responding to these calls, so that we could avoid some of the miscommunications and misunderstandings that sometimes occur in these mental health emergencies that are occurring. So we really want to make sure that all of our first responders are armed with the most possible knowledge that they could have when they're walking into these situations to provide better outcomes for all the people who are involved. And our final affirmative proposal would be LB 242. And we're so grateful for Senator Brandt for bringing this innovative bill to allow us and other political subdivisions to address our significant bridge infrastructure needs, which I mentioned above. The first thing that LB 242 does is clarifies that political subdivisions like counties are able to use design build contracts for bridge construction. The second thing that it does is similar to legislation that was passed with great success for the South Beltway, which would allow us to contract to pay for design build projects, including our bridge construction projects over a longer period of time. Allowing that longer payment term allows us to take advantage of current prices now and to get those bridges built and then pay those off over time with current budgeted funds. So it's not it's not a bonding issue. It basically allows us to contract and work with the contractors to get our bridges built now and then pay those off over time. So we're really excited that this provides us with another great tool in our toolbox to address our infrastructure needs without necessarily having to increase taxes. This would all be with currently budgeted revenue.
The county, we've got a meeting going. We'll talk in a few days and see, and I'm going to leave town. I don't think we'll get to meet for a few days.
All right. Thank you, Dave, for that. Appreciate it.
I apologize.
If you do need to have conversations on the side, please.
We'll get it going, and I greatly need your help and appreciate it.
We'll work on that. Any questions for Dave or the commissioners on these priorities? Commissioner Morgan. Any questions, senators? We have the 3 affirmative bills that we are looking forward to supporting, and a couple that we feel would have negative impacts on Lancaster County.
I missed the bill number on the mental health commitment. What was the bill number on that one?
It is LB 663.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Very good. Thank you for that, Dave.
Rick, this is Senator Brandt. Real quick on LB 242, as you read that, the back part of that bill references the existing bridge share program. It wasn't necessary to the bill. We talked to the Department of Transportation, just so everybody knows that last section is going to be taken out of the bill, but it will still accomplish everything that we want to do for the county. So it will be design build and all of those. And we would ask for your support. That bill we thought was going to go to Transportation and Technology. It ended up going to the Government and Military Affairs Committee, but I think we'll be in good shape. That's all I got.
Thank you for that, Senator Brandt. Okay, very good. We'll move forward. Douglas County. I don't know. I haven't heard who's speaking on their behalf.
Our lobbyist, Sean, and then Martin is going to share his screen and show our bills here.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferguson.
Thanks, Commissioner Marcos. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I'm Marcos C. Martin. Good morning, senators and commissioners. So I do the legislation and labor for Douglas County. I'm going to share my screen so that you can kind of see some of the documents that I have to go over today. You can all hear me okay? I think so. I hope. Okay.
Yes, yes, we can hear
Sean. So let me see if I can share this. Maybe not. All right, are you able to, I think that my screen, it should be on a resolution. Hopefully, yes, Sean's shaking his head, yes. Okay, so so just as some background, Douglas County, the commissioners generally get together in October and November and put together a list of priorities for the next year that they want to support. And so they came up with the legislation to do that. Then in January, we generally look at all the bills that have been filed and then take a formal position on those priorities, you know, that have had a bill filed on them. So, and this resolution that I'm sharing is actually going to be on the board's agenda tomorrow. And the group of bills that I'm sharing are going to be our initial set of bills that the board, the recommendation from staff is to support. And so I'll go over them very quickly. And then I have a list of bills that we are watching and concerned about. I think that you all can at least see the portion of I tried to zoom in so that everyone could better read the actual list of bills. LB 83 is a Senator Flood item, change the Open Meetings Act for virtual conferencing. This was something we asked for. It was very, due to the coronavirus, this really would have been helpful to have all this past year. So we asked for LB 83 and the board is supporting it. LB 201 is another item that it's been recommended to the board to support. It revises some sections of law really regarding where juvenile cases should begin, whether in juvenile court or in district court. And at least initially, based on our analysis, it may have the potential to reduce some length of stay at the DCYC at our youth facility. And so recommendation from staff is to support LB 201. And Sean, you can still hear me okay, and we're good, right? Okay. The next item that I have that's been being recommended by staff for support is LB 215. That changes the 911 service surcharge provisions. As you all may know, and I know that a lot of the senators have seen this in past sessions, this particular bill, it only affects Douglas County. And what this does is that it equalizes it changes the surcharges to be the same collected in Douglas County as it is collected in all the other 92 counties. Currently, Douglas County collects a lower rate than all the other counties, and this bill would allow us to collect the same amount as the other counties in the state. LB 313, this bill relates to homestead exemption. And we may actually have a common support bill. It's been filed by Senator Sanders, common support with the other counties. It deals with allowing a late filing of a homestead in cases of the death of a spouse. And so a recommendation from Douglas County is to support LB 313. The next one on my list is from Senator Dorn. It's LB 462. And it actually increases by 3% funding for behavioral health services. And I will say in a nutshell, at least from Douglas County, any progress toward this goal in particular, for us is a win to have any additional funds that we can put toward behavioral health, statewide, countywide, at any degree. So the recommendation from us is to support this, LB 462. The next bill that I have on the list is LB 585, and it actually allocates $5 million in funds to public health departments. It's been filed by Senator Vargas, and again, anything in this realm we see as a win for the state and for Douglas County. So recommendation to support LB 585. I'm going to share, and so this resolution is going to be before the board tomorrow. So I kind of have it just marked as it's pending board consideration. I'm pretty confident my board will probably support those items. They were all part of our initial priority list back in November, or consistent with what we've previously done in the county. I'm going to share a different screen. Are there any questions on these support bills in particular? Sean, do you have additional info? No. Okay.
I did have a question on one of the bills. This is Luann Linehan. On
Yes, ma'am.
how much is 3% increase 3% behavioral health? Senator Dorn's 462. Is there a dollar amount?
Oh, the bill doesn't list the dollar amount. I think it was whatever was allocated last year from the state. It increases it overall 3%. So I will have Sean and I follow up with you on what that rate is.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. So the next list that I'm sharing with the board, and I hope that the document you see on your screen, it says bills of high concern. I have a list that we have created, Sean and I, working off of what's been filed so far. And this does match what Lancaster presented. LB 310 is a bill of very high concern for us. It obviously will significantly reduce the inheritance tax proceeds. Just to give senators kind of a perspective, I'm not going to go over the details of the bill. It was previously already gone over, but this particular bill, in Douglas County, we generally collect 12 million to 13 million per year in inheritance tax proceeds. This could have the potential to reduce us to more around 3 million to 5 million. And the inheritance tax is very important for us to protect, as it is a very good revenue source for Douglas County. The next bill that I have on there as a bill of high concern for us, it's LB 408. LB 408 will actually limit the county's or any political subdivision's tax request, so not to exceed the tax request in the prior year by more than 3%, unless it goes to a vote of the goes to referendum of the voters. And that, this is a kind of a complicated bill for our county because and this may be statewide, but at least in Douglas County, our actual property valuations have risen about 7% in each of the prior 2 years. And so for us to be able to fit LB 408 into how, I guess like make it current with how our property values are rising, it'd be very difficult and would definitely present a challenge to us. So LB 408 would in effect result in a significantly reduced amount of revenue to Douglas County. My next bill on the list, it's LB 613. It changes provisions relating to hearings and decisions for under Turk. And this bill in particular it is a unique bill. It adds essentially a speedy hearing right to Turk appeals. And if no decision by Turk has been reached within 9 months of the filing date, the appeal is decided in favor of the property owner. And that may seem like very much of a long time. Unfortunately, a lot of the Turk appeals actually go well beyond that 9 month window, and as there's a significant Turk backlog. So we would see that as if the decision automatically went to the property owner, the county would lose out in quite a bit of revenue, where we have challenged the property owner's valuation. The next bill that I have on the list of very high concern is LB 622, limits of growth of real property valuations. And that's been now in the Revenue Committee, it's LB 622. And the bill has many working parts, but it does put a 3% limit on non-ag real. But the market really has driven, our property values to increase more than 3%. And, and I just use that as the example in my previous bill, or my previous example is, 7% the past 2 years in property values. If there are any questions at all from our bills of high concern, I just have a general list of our bills of other concern. And I think that I'm now sharing it on our screen. Just wanted to check to see if there are questions. Or Sean, are we good?
No, Marcos, good job explaining. I think, the theme here on a lot of these bills comes down to revenue and a reduction thereof from the county budget. I think the same can be applied to the following bills you have here and other bills of concern.
Very quickly on these, I'll just go over them kind of super brief. LB 54 and LB 71, it's concerning to us because it does expand, both of them will expand the county's liability for intentional torts committed by bad actors. So this is definitely on our radar. We are concerned with LB 54 and LB 71. LB 133, again, unique bill. It's the Epic Consumption Tax Act. It would repeal all other forms of taxes except for a 10% or so consumption tax. That's concerning to us. 151, we only flagged it as it would be an additional cost to the county attorney. So I have that on the list. LB 189. LB 189 actually adds a 9%, 9% interest for refunds. So where the county would have to pay 9% interest on refunds to a taxpayer. Again, just flagging it as a fiscal concern for the county. LB 207 and 407 both deal with workers' compensation. They are concerning to us. LB 207 essentially bumps up earlier in time when workers' compensation begins by about 3 days. So there would be a fiscal impact to Douglas County. LB 407 only affects Lancaster and Douglas County, and that would actually sweep in county correctional officers that would qualify for mental injury or mental distress, would qualify for workers' compensation. We believe that would end up in a significant or have the potential to end up in a very significant fiscal impact to Douglas County and Lancaster. It only applies to counties over 300,000 in population. LB 419, my last two on this list here, requires that every county pays for appointed counsel in an eviction proceeding. Again, that impacts would impact the cost of or impact revenue for the county, impact what we would have to pay. So LB 419 again is a fiscal bill. And then my very last bill on there, it's LB 679. It would switch the collection of essentially we call it our visitor improvement fund dollars. Lodging taxes are derived, the visitor improvement fund is derived from the lodging taxes. It would switch collection to the tax commissioner. The tax commissioner would retain 3%. And so we see that as essentially a loss downstream to Douglas County of visitor improvement funds. Other than that, those are my bills, at least at this point. Any questions at all? I just wanted to share the numbers with you all. Those are our ones, all of our bills of concern.
Very impressive list, Marcos. Well done. Any questions, senators? Okay. Hearing none, I think we can move forward to Sarpy County.
Thank you, Commissioner. Dan Hoynes, County Administrator. On the call today for Sarpy County, we have Commissioner Angie Burmeister and Catalyst Public Affairs, Tim Gay and Caitlin Reese will be presenting our agenda.
Thanks, Dan. Welcome everyone. A snowy, busy Monday. Thank you. Great attendance here. So I'm going to turn it over real quickly to Caitlin Reese and Commissioner Burmeister. They'll quickly go through our bills and Caitlin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you everyone for being here this morning. Our number one priority is LB 313, introduced by Senator Sanders, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. Commissioner Burmeister is going to talk a little bit more about where that bill came from and why we're so grateful to be working with Senator Sanders on that bill. Several other bills that some of these are overlap from what you've heard already, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. We do have some, some of our bills of high concern include LR 444CA and LB 310 for reasons that have been articulated by the other commissioners in terms of, especially in a county like Sarpy County that's fast growing, some concerns about funding there. There are also some bills related to infrastructure, again, as a growing county with a lot of roads needs and our sewer project that we are interested in supporting. So that would include the Senator Brandt bill that was flagged by Lancaster County earlier, LB 242, but would also include bills by Senator Lindstrom. This is a longstanding priority. It's a turn back tax for sewer and water facilities. That's LB 178. As well as LB 414 by Senator Wishart that would allow for design build for wastewater, sewer, utility, and water construction projects. And so those are some of our main priorities in terms of infrastructure and helping to continue to find more creative and innovative ways to be able to provide infrastructure in Sarpy County. And I will turn it over to Commissioner Burmeister to talk a little bit more about LB 313.
Thanks, Caitlin. And thank you, Senator Sanders, for introducing this bill. 313 extends the ability to file a homestead exemption application solely for medical reasons that are supported by a doctor's note. And it does add the provision of allowing an extension for a spouse that has a spouse pass away in the year that the taxes are due. We had a specific reason for bringing this particular bill. We've had a couple of examples of people during my tenure on the county board, people coming to us looking for exemptions where they're outside the statutory period and they have a good excuse for why they missed the deadline, but the statute is so specific on the time frame that we didn't have a lot of options. In the particular last case that we had an 80-year-old resident, and she was suffering from a disabling skin condition that required a lot of out-of-state treatment. She happened to be out-of-state hospitalized a number of times during the year. And she had a doctor's note, detailed photos, and had to come to the county board during COVID, which is frustrating and difficult for us as commissioners in order to seek an exemption. She was outside the statutory deadline, and we did grant the extension to her because we felt it was appropriate to do that. And it was immediately overturned by the Department of Revenue because it was outside the statutory timeline. And so the goal here was just to give a little more time for this very limited group of the population that might have an issue that requires a longer exemption. It is super narrow, so it's not going to affect a great number of people, but allowing that extra time, I think, will make a big difference to that small group of people that would be affected here. So we did work with treasurers and assessors to try to make sure that what we were proposing would be something that wouldn't cause a lot of consternation in the other offices. So we tried to craft something that was both narrow and specific, that would help this limited number of people and also wouldn't have a great impact across the board in terms of how it would be done. So that's why we chose this particular legislation as a priority.
So that, and we don't want to be repetitive. Obviously, we support many of the things that's been said prior by Douglas and Lancaster County. What Commissioner Burmeister is talking about, I'm sure many of the commissioners have seen these issues come up. It's very frustrating when you basically can't do anything but listen to them and look at them and say no. So we're looking at for some options there. NACO, we have run this by NACO, and they seem to be very supportive of it. There are probably other cases where it's frustrating and you can't do anything. We're starting here, but not to say that down the road there couldn't be other opportunities to help the taxpayers when they get into this position. It wouldn't be like you're granting everybody an exemption. It'd be very well, very narrowly focused. So we think we've got a good idea here, and I'm glad Douglas County is supporting it as well. But that's it for us. Thanks.
Any questions for Sarpy County? Okay, very good. Any other issues someone would like to present at this time? We've made good use of our time. Was there anything else? Any of the senators have anything they'd like to present to the county commissioners?
Senator Vest, if I may jump in very quickly. We didn't do it at the beginning. I was writing a list of who was on, but senators, thank you very much for your time this morning. I hope I'm not missing anyone, but thanks to Senators Linehan, Sanders, Brandt, Dorn, Geist, McKinney, Moorfeld, Arch, DeBoer, Kavanaugh, and Bostar for being on here this morning. If I missed anyone, not intentional, I've been trying to keep track, but we greatly appreciate your time, and let it be known that the Tri-Counties gave you some time back in your morning.
Yeah, we would rather give you a donut and a cup of coffee, but we'll give you the time instead.
If I could just add something, Commissioner Vest.
Yes.
Thank you, senators, for being with us this morning. And although we went through the bills that we oppose or have high concerns of, that doesn't mean that we're leaving the table. We want to work with you. We're very concerned about the revenue because, as you know, counties have limited resources of revenue. But if there was some way that we could look at those unfunded mandates or stopping the shifts down to the counties, we would be more than willing just to sit and talk about those. So again, while we might have rattled off a lot of things we have concerns over or oppose, that doesn't mean that we're not here to continue our partnership and try to come up with a compromise for those bills that you have. So thank you for your time today.
Very well said. Thank you. All right. Seeing nothing further, I think we'll bring this meeting to an end. Thank you all. We'll look forward to being in touch as the process continues. Have a great morning.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Lancaster, for hosting.